when you start, you're given a chance. And if you haven't had the chat with yourself where you say, what do I want to start? What are people going to say about it in a year? What will I have created? What kind of reference point will I be? If you don't answer those questions and then hold yourself to it, how can you possibly be at peace with yourself? And so we were like, no. I want us to be a reference point for this industry. I want our first piece of work to be, disruptive, anarchic, provocative, without any of the restraints of where we'd been. The point is this: if you don't paint yourself a picture of your future, how on earth could you hope it'll go okay?
Yep.
What's okay?
Nils Leonard.
Hello.
CCO, founder of Uncommon. This is the only one I've been nervous for a while. Yeah. A very cool vibe here in Uncommon, because we came, was it like last month, and someone behind the camera there, Aaron, said, feels like an art studio, not like an agency.
Yeah.
Was that your intention?
Yeah, it's a studio. It is a studio. Really quiet today, needless to say, it's a Friday. It's legitimately a studio, and that's not some bullshit to try and not use the agency word. It's a bit more meaningful than that, in that it dawned on me that agencies, if you think about the concept of an agency, they're dependent on their clients, or they're dependent on briefs in order to go make work. When you think about a studio in the form of a TV studio or an entertainment studio or even a design studio or making studio, they just make work.
Yeah.
They don't need a brief, they don't need permission, they don't need anything.
That's why we're in this wonderful room, which Lex told me is like, this is like the merch room.
This is a shop. This is a shop. So when it's not as set up as it should be. I wish it was, but we got into this building, which used to be Alexander McQueen's studio, also used to be the Agent Provocateur headquarters for our sins. Mm-hmm. But we were in only for 2 months before COVID and all that crap happened.
Oh, right.
So we were redoing this as a shop. And if you look on our website now, the shop's fully operational. That's all that's on our website. Our work isn't on our website.
Brilliant.
But we wanted to sell the brands that we created and our partner brands, and we wanted to basically get as much of our stuff out onto the world as we could.
Yeah.
So we thought the shop would be a great way to do it.
Before we start talking about like cool aesthetics and interesting things, I want to probe a little bit into the past, and you have full freedom at any point to be like, can't talk about that, or there's an NDA about that, or I don't want to piss this person off. But I really want to know, this is very different from an agency for all the reasons you just said, and I have really wanted to know for a long time, why did you split with Gray and WPP?
Look, Gray was a really brilliant place for me, and the people there at that time invested in me before I was anybody.
You were a typographer first.
I was a typographer and designer years ago. Been in the industry for about 25 years. I didn't go to uni, so I joined very young. Design, lots of creative, moved around quite a bit, and was, I guess, an art director or a creative director-ish at Abbott Mead as I left, and then United, where I worked just before Gray. Gray bought United, and at that point there were some quite talented people there: Rona Cairns, Jason Cobbold, Richard Huntington, who's now the strategy director of Versace's, etc. There was a good crew, and the bunch of them, because Gray was literally renowned as where you went to die back then. That was what people said. They were all like, fuck that, I'm not going there, it will ruin my reputation. I remember Jason telling me that going to Gray, I should seriously think about my reputation, and I was like, fucking hell. And I met David Patton, who was the incoming CEO, and David had loads of hang-ups about the industry and what he thought it should be and all the above, and was more annoyed at how it was than he was scared to hire me. And so as a result, he hired me and just placed an immense amount of trust in my hands, and I had this version of events that I thought would be interesting. I'll give you an example of that. I don't think I've told this to anybody else. When we started there, they had a lot of really conventional clients and really conventional work, and it was all pretty bad. And I sort of started and thought, fuck, it's no wonder all the creatives here are asleep, like passengers. So I started this thing downstairs that I called Dark Gray. In the same building as us was lastminute.com and a few other people. So I would grab the creatives I thought were brilliant, Jimmy Blom and Jay Marlowe and a few others. And we'd disappear down there, and I'd bribe them with wine, and we would just cook up alternative brands for fun. And so we
made alternative campaigns, but
brands. Right. So we made a brand called, which was
love it.
Basically based on the last minute algorithm. You can't have that. You come here and pay me if you want it, as an idea, just saying. No, but it was good. And it was suddenly like, fuck, and that was all on the wall, and we thought about how the UX would work, and we thought about how the language might work and all that. Anyway, David comes down one day and sees all this crap on the wall, and he's like, what's all this? And I was like, uh-oh. And he said, no, I don't want you to stop doing it. I just want you to make this great. And I was like, right. And I thought, fuck, okay. What an amazing guy. What a brilliant stroke of leadership to just do that. Because at that point, I'm like, oh my God, he really sees what we're about. And And so we tried to do that, and we spent many years at Grey doing pretty good stuff. The truth, though, of Grey, I was there 8-9 years, was I would talk about, and at the end it was quite good. It was 550 people at the end. It was 100 people when I arrived or something, and we were, D&AD's Agency of the Year, or, it was good. But at the end, I realized I spent my time talking about 15% of the agency's output. Now, people were like, Grey's changed, it's amazing. But the truth is it had a bit, but the reality was that 65% of our output was still something I didn't really want to talk about or recognize. At the same time, a client in a pitch says to me, which is a very cunning question, Nils, how do I go from being a brand that sells shit to people to being a brand that people wish existed? And I thought that was an amazing question. So we've made a couple of bits of work like Life Paint, the Angina monologues, and I hear this question, it's ringing in my ears. And then I stopped and went, well, never mind you. Never mind a client. How do I name an agency or studio in the world that real people wish existed? Like seriously, that you and me would walk out of here and talk about on the street, the way you talk about Pixar, the way you talk about A24, the way you talk about 100%. Heatherwick. And I was like, right, that. And it was that last year I started to get into what I call Groundhog Year, where I was having the same budgetary conversations and whatever. Now, don't get me wrong, the guys at WPP and at Grey, and we were their lead agency at the time by far, invested a lot of money in me and a lot of whatever, so I'll never badmouth that. But at the same time, they had hinged up these ridiculous contracts and these hyper defensive contractual prisons for everybody. And it just wasn't entrepreneurial enough. I wanted to invest in things like Life Paint. I wanted to invest in, other ventures that I saw. I wanted to launch our own brands, and I just couldn't.
So there was a kind of a fairly typical corporate stagnation. We want to be really bold, we want to be really creative, but we can only work in these lanes.
Yeah, and I think to their credit, London had managed to chuck a load of that out of the way or just ignore it. And I learned the power of just saying no.
Yes.
And actually saying no when you have an office. I got offered the global job there, and it was a job many people had advised me away from because you don't have an office. So it sounds like the most powerful job in the network, but an office is how you say no. You basically say, well, I've got 500 people, I make 90 million a year, so fuck off. Yeah. What are you going to do? Whereas when you're a guy on a plane, you just have to say yes. So I thought all that was interesting. So to some degree, there were some brilliant lessons there, and there were a lot of kickbacks to the, I guess, network vibe. But ultimately, they just couldn't get themselves out of that stuff. I'd want to give someone a pay rise, and I'd have to go and tell 5 people in America that I wanted to do that.
And there would be a bit of, can you talk to this person as well?
Yeah, and they have to leave first. And I'm like, what a ridiculous comment. By the time someone's left or resigned, their mind's already gone.
Yeah. So it's the typical stagnation of like hyper order, where adhering to the format becomes more interesting than inspiring. And
I realized as well, I was in a bubble. You go home and I remember the things I used to bring home and show my wife, and it sounds awful, but I'm kind of embarrassed about it now. We made this corporate film for the network, and we made blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I look back and I'm like, that didn't matter to a single soul other than 4 people at the top of that network. It was a load of shit.
Yeah.
So all of which created enough fury and unease and cynicism, actually, which is my biggest fear. To become a cynic is my biggest fear. Yeah. There's plenty in this industry, and that is how you die. And I realized that was coming. And so I was like, I've got to get the fuck out of here.
Okay.
And so left, and then spent a year getting sued, and we can talk about the NDAs, but basically I was being followed and shackled to the point where they were trying to use their contract to stop me starting.
That sounds like more stress than I could tolerate. How could you tolerate that stress?
Because the win was worth it.
Yeah, it was worth it.
Well, it was a story I told myself because I didn't know it was worth it, but yeah.
Because you have to believe. It was actually an act of faith, not certainty.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will not take that leap because they're like, I need a certain outcome.
So the way we talk about it here, and we talk about it a lot with our clients, but it mirrors our own story, is are you more scared of change or are you more scared of staying the same? And I was more scared of staying the same than I was of anything that could happen out there.
So being afraid of the right thing is the key. Yeah. Because obviously the whole thing, I'm very junior compared to what you guys are doing here, which music composers have been doing it for about 5 years and learning on the job. A lot of fear. Lots of fear. It's like a fear of it not being exactly what I wanted it to be. But it's like what you wanted it to be might not be important. What it evolves into might be the important thing.
Yeah, possibly. I'd disagree with that. Okay. So, and here's why. Is I think that there's plenty of startups, and by the way, respect for starting anyway. I'm not demeaning that 100%. Anyone that goes and does that is a fucking badass, whether it works or not. That's a fact. But when you start, you're given a chance, and if you haven't had the chat with yourself where you say, what do I want to start? What are people going to say about it in a year? What will I have created? What kind of reference point will I be? If you don't answer those questions and then hold yourself to it, how can you possibly be at peace with yourself about what you've made?
Yeah.
Now, if just making something is your goal, that's fine. But it's not really most people's goals.
It's a moving target, that.
Yeah. And so we were like, no. I want us to be a reference point for this industry. I want our first piece of work to be, disruptive, anarchic, provocative, without any of the restraints of where we'd been. And it just so happened it ended up being OVO with Slayer as a soundtrack, to your point about music, massive metalhead all my life. And so I believe as well, the act of answering those questions is partly you writing your own dream and writing a script for your future. I believe in that. Other people use manifesting, whatever. The point is this: if you don't paint yourself a picture of your future, how on earth could you hope it'll go okay?
Yep.
What's okay?
Yeah. And a lot of people won't do that because they're like, well, now I've got this harsh judge, and if I'm not hitting it, I failed.
Yeah. And I don't think it wasn't necessarily monetary at all for us. It was more, there's a sequence of events and a type of work we want to make and a way of being in this industry and in the world. And if we're not going to adhere to that, we may as well just be any fucking agency.
Yep.
And that way lies death, because ultimately you've done all that stuff. You've been sued, you've left, you've done all that crap. And all you've done is started this thing a bit like everything else.
Yes.
And that's why it's important. So I don't buy that it's okay just to start and see where it goes. Things will go like that, whether you like it or not.
Yep.
The trick is having something fixed, I think, or a question or a compass of some sort that enables you to keep it moving forwards. So that question I brought up from Gray, a company that people wish existed, that's still the goal now.
Yeah, well, that's on your website, isn't it? That's maybe the only thing on the website.
Yeah. Probably, yeah. The website's a bit of a joke.
Well, I mean, yeah, we don't want to get started on websites, do we? But the couple of things I want to pick up on from David that seems like influenced your style.
Patton, yeah, David Patton, yeah.
One is you can't ask permission, you have to do it and then show them that it worked.
Yeah.
And the other is subsidiary organization. It sounds like David went, okay, I trust you to handle this.
He was a brilliant leader.
A lot of people, brilliant leadership is that just trusting people to handle things.
Yeah.
Instead of
it's a part of it.
Okay.
I think if you're not a creative and you're in the creative industry, that was an appropriate way to lead, which is, if you're not going to be the one in a room going, we're about this and it's about that and it's about this, and you're actually more of a conductor or a foil to that electricity, then I think that's the appropriate way to lead. There's a great photo of Tom Ford with a guy called Domenico De Sol, who most people won't recognize. He looks like an old Christopher Lee. They're in the back of a car. And I used to give talks where I'd show that photo and I'd go, who's that? And everyone would go, oh, it's fucking Tom Ford. I go, who's that? And no one would have a clue. Now, Domenico was the guy in charge of Gucci when he brought Tom on. Right. And he would say to Tom, right, we currently make 3,000 products. I want to make 300. You tell me what they are. You design the fucking purse. I don't give a shit. But I've set you the guardrails for success because I know that 300 excellent products is the key to success. And that's the kind of relationship I think I had with David, where David went, I know what the business needs to look like money-wise. I know the type of disciplines it needs to be modern. I know the type of work and conversations we need to be in for it to work, but I can't do it. Mm-hmm. So Nils might be able to, as might John Williams, as might Neil Horston. I'll get the fuck out of the way for those guys and see what happens. Yeah,
it sounds similar to Michael Imperioli, famously portrayed Christopher Moltisanti on The Sopranos, said the best director he worked with was Scorsese, not just because he was Scorsese, but the reason he was great was because he said, I hired you because I like your style. I'm not going to tell you how to act it. Show me what you can.
Yeah.
Is that similar to how you work with creatives?
No.
Okay.
No, creatively, I'm far more, I think there's a difference. I think, like I say, I think that type of leadership, if you're a business or structural leader, and by the way, I don't think they're devoid of vision. I just think it's different. I think creatively, I think we're not mechanical enough with each other. I think I'd love to get into music with you at some point, but I think fame isn't luck. I think music isn't luck. I think emotion isn't luck. I think there's a mechanic to all of it. Mm-hmm. And I think as we get older in this industry and more wise, it's our role to pass that on and be ferocious about what we think those rules or mechanics are. Mm-hmm. So at Uncommon, there are key questions we ask in every review. When a junior or a senior person comes in, I'm asking the same questions. How is this famous? How does it dance on a cultural friction? What in this is going to be referred to? What am I going to take a photo of? Is there an icon or image for this idea within this campaign that someone could pass on or love? What bit of language could align with the way they see the world, not just the product and the category it lives in? Mm. Like, they've become second nature to us. And as a result, I would argue that's a key to our work being, you might not like all our work, but our work being of a certain standard.
Yeah.
And I think that's not about kind of luck and feeling it out and trust. I think it's partly about that, but it's partly about saying, I trust you, but within the guardrails we're setting within this culture.
Yes.
Because good at Wyden or good at BBH is not good here. It's different.
Yeah, different. Would you go so far as to say those are horizontal comparisons, or are you saying they're vertical comparisons?
Being baited.
Yeah.
No, I genuinely think we're different. I think we have a different endpoint.
Yes.
I really do. I try where we can to push our work to a place where I think it will get talked about, make a dent, and matter in a way that most advertising doesn't. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's good advertising. It means it's good creativity.
Yeah.
And that if someone can get hold of it or share it in their own way, and I've seen examples of that to the point where people are buying posters from us and they're buying statements from us. And, you know, that for me is a recognition that our work isn't necessarily what you would consider to be advertising. It's, you know, it's commercial art, or it's, you know, stuff that aligns with their worldview.
Dave Dye once said this thing to me. It was like, if it looks like an advert, if it registers, yep, that looks like the format. You're doing it wrong.
Yeah, probably. You know, someone once said about our work, best advertising doesn't look like advertising anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's true, but I guess we're just trying to push for something else.
Okay.
The last thing I'd say to the point about are we comparative or not, I don't know whether BBH or whoever else are trying to become companies that people in the real world know. We are. So I would argue that our hit rate and every bit of work we make is pushing a little bit harder at something they're not. And that's not an arrogant thing to say. I just think they're happy maybe to be doing what they're doing, and I don't know what they're doing and I can't speak for them. But I know that Uncommon is desperate for all our work to be having a conversation in the real world with people where it's not an ad. So if we make something for B&Q around COVID and it says we will grow again, that's 100% not about selling flowers, is it?
That's right.
You know what I mean? And I just think it's trying to chime with that. Look, there's brilliant work made by other people in the industry. I'm not demeaning that. I just think the reminder here for us is that we're trying to do something a bit different.
Yeah.
Have a different relationship with the world.
People are afraid of saying to their clients, I think we should go in this direction. I get the sense that a lot of client interaction is tell me what you want. I'll say yes and figure out how to make it happen. How do you persuade someone like B&Q to go with that? This is where we're going. This is what we're trying to do.
Well, the first step is why they come here.
Right.
So I remember being at Gray or other agencies where I would just try and win clients. I used to have stuck under my desk a win-lose draw chart, like a football win-lose draw thing.
Yeah.
And I'd have a list of clients that came in for pitches and I just want to tick win. And I wouldn't think about why we would want to work with them. I'd never ask them why they were there.
Yeah.
Right. So they'd come and I'd say, wonderful, thanks so much for coming. Let me show you our stuff. I think that's the behavior of most agencies. Now, when people come, I say the very first question we always ask is just, can we just stop for a second? Why are you here? And if they turn around and they say, I really saw Build a Life and I want to build a life, or British Original was fucking amazing, something a bit like that, or that one second seat, can you tell me more about that? It means they know what we make. And that already tells me they've come for what we do.
Right.
Right? Most places don't do that. So as a result, what happens is you pitch and you pitch and you pitch, and then you go, why doesn't this client want to make the work we want to make? Well, you never ask them if they did.
What do they really want?
Yeah. And did they know what you made? What do you make?
Advertising.
Right. Right. And not even this time of that, just advertising. And I kind of think that's the problem. I think a lot of the time, agencies who are in charge of people's lives as brands don't know what their own brand is and don't know what their own brand stands for and what success looks like for them. And that sounds selfish, and I kind of wish we were all a bit more selfish.
You remind me a great deal of Seth Godin, big shout out to Seth Godin, who I've been listening to on the Tim Ferriss podcast. Aaron turned me on to that, who said, there's nothing wrong with being a wandering generality instead of a meaningful specific, but you're not going to change anything unless you're a meaningful specific.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And I've got lots of views on that. Like, I care deeply for the creative people in this industry. And I think the platforms have stolen our best leaders from us. And I think that we have allowed ourselves to be lulled into a con, which is, when did the word client services creep into our industry?
What was it before, in your view?
Well, it was creativity. That was what was for sale. What was for sale was radical acts of creativity. You go back to Howell Henry, the birthplace of Abermead Vickers, OG BBH. These people were showing you how radical creativity could transform your business, right? Suddenly we're waking up client services. Now, that's not the same thing. That's integration and content and synergy and consistency and frameworks and social, all of which are wonderful, but are not creativity.
Yes, the invasion of format.
Right. Now, that's a race to fast and quick and cheap.
Yep.
And ultimately you go, well, okay, if you want to go and sell that, that's fine, but best of luck. That's not the business I'm in.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other problem as well. So, you know, I look at it and just go, if more of us had a quick look at what we were actually really selling and then asked ourselves whether the clients coming through the door wanted that, no shit. They didn't come for what you think you're selling.
Yep.
Most creative directors in these agencies won't know that what their agency's really selling isn't creativity.
It's cost reduction.
Yeah.
It is making things at scale.
Yeah, comfort.
Got it. Yeah. The big debate that, rages on with us is just like, is the only thing on their mind how much it costs, in which case we should just get out of this pitch.
Yeah.
Because that's not an interesting discussion.
No. And I mean, in your world, the power of music, like the power of creativity in terms of a creative product, I mean, it's transformative. What would you pay for Cornfield Chase? What would you pay for Swerve City by the Deftones? What would you pay for, and it's not like a bit like Swerve City. It's either fucking Swerve City or it's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes or no.
Yeah. And I think that's the difference.
No, you would hate the sound alike requests.
Of course.
Can't afford this. Can I have something a bit like it?
Yeah.
No.
We try not to do that. If we can't afford something, I'll go in and I'll go, here's a riff. Or I'll just try to make something of origin rather than, yeah. I mean, how many C- Cornfield Chasers are there? Probably 1,000.
Too many.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably look in a library in the background, but we're not going to do that because.
No, but I mean, the reason I make that point though, and it is applicable, I think, to a wider industry, which is how many agencies are a C- version of Cornfield Chase,
right?
And how many are Cornfield Chase?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point.
You're trying to live in the middle of the zeitgeist.
I'm trying to be the thing.
Yeah.
I want to be, not for everyone, but for the people who want what we do, we are that.
Yeah.
As good as that gets, and I think that's what's rare.
A lot of people out there were asking because you know that you're making a difference. You've been at Agency of the Year a couple of times, I believe. Is that right? And people will say, what are they doing? What are they thinking about? And try and get the ball rolling here. Not that it isn't already rolling, but before we have this discussion, let's figure out what's on your mind. Because I said, just give me 10 things that are interesting to you. The first one's this. What's that all about?
So that's a page from a book called Grief is a Thing with Feathers by Max Porter. He's a brilliant, brilliant writer. There's some things, be it music or words or a film or whatever, that I think hit you sometimes. And I think they become reference points for far more than the object itself. And I look at the way Max has written, in particular that book, and the format in which he wrote it. And I just think, how many years of words existed? This sounds like a moronic thing to say. How does he find a way to combine words in a way that I don't feel like I've heard before?
Interesting.
It hits, right? So this is a page from it. It goes, Dad, introduction, Crow's bad dream, it's all about grief. Crow's bad dream, I miss my wife. Chapter 1, magical dangers, I miss my wife. Chapter 2, reign of silence. Chapter 3, unkillable trickster, what a brilliant term. Chapter 4, aphrodisiac disaster. Chapter 5, tragic comedy. Chapter 6, the baby, God in the lake, what? Chapter 7, the song. Why does that give the hairs on your arms though? Yeah. It shouldn't, but why does it make the fucking hairs on your arms stand up?
Combining God and the baby, associating those things
in the lake. Aphrodisiac disaster, like what? Now, like it's fret wanking, but it's really, really good.
Because it's like verbal soloing.
Yeah, or he's playing, because it's not a book and that's not a narrative that I understand, and it's not a... Now, those exist alongside this in the book, but I love that you're switching through and he just keeps you, like a brilliant bit of music or like anything, he keeps you in the room. Yeah. Like he keeps fucking with you and disrupting you with his writing. Yeah. And there is a style. He has style, I
think it's more important to have style than necessarily to be coherent.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. There's a Bukowski poem about that I think I might have sent you to. I can't remember whether I sent you. I'm going to read that. Okay. I saved that for you.
One second. Bukowski on the phone.
I know. I hate using him because I think lots of people do it, but this is gold. Style is the answer to everything. A fresh way to approach a dull or dangerous thing. To do a dull thing with style is preferable to doing a dangerous thing without it. Joan of Arc had style. John the Baptist, Christ, Socrates, Caesar. I was like, okay. But I think it is. I think style is everything. I think cool is a word that we have demeaned and made peripheral and made trashy. But honestly, it's our game. Even way back to some of the ads we all loved or some of the bits of design we all love, you can eulogize the edges and whatever you use, flash words. Something is cool or it's not. Yeah.
And cool is a word like love that's been overused. That's where it means nothing. That's what if you love someone.
That's right. And under it is a sense of style. So what I get from Max is this feel around his work and words far more than the story's beautiful, but the feel of it, I want to be in it. Yeah. I want to stay there for a bit. And I saw the stage show of this with Cillian Murphy. I went to a reading of his latest book, Shy, and everything that guy presents, he understands the relationship between the experience he's giving you and you as a reader, viewer, participant. And it's fascinating. And you can tell he cares about it and understands it. And I know he's mechanical about that. there's no illusion or luck there, like to our previous comment. He's an absolute master at it. And I just rate it. And so if I could channel that style, or also, by the way, I think there's an intelligence to that and a presumed whatever, but I think there's this disconnect going on in wider pop culture or creativity where we're trying to dumb everything down because we presume that people are not of that level of intelligence. And it's one of the most annoying things about our industry and about the work that we often do is, will people get it?
Do you think they'll get it?
Yeah. And sometimes I don't want them to get it. I want them to feel it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nolan said that.
Right.
He said some films are meant to be understood, not to be understood, but to be felt.
Yeah. Okay. That. And I think that's true of work. Like, and I think we've released work that some people hate or love, whatever, but they're hit. And if that's better than 90% of the work out there.
Yes.
And so I just look at it and go, that, whether I understand what he means by any of that, I don't care. I love reading it. It feels good reading it.
You can tell that informs your philosophy at Uncommon because, and I'm not going to go, because all your work's incoherent. But what I mean is, you can tell that there's not an excruciating need to understand and make and connect the point.
Yeah.
British original.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Yeah. I could tell you what it means. But
What does it mean?
Well, it means it's a description of an airline that arguably changed everything in this country. They did things their own way, everything from Concorde in the past through to others. It's a description of the people that fly with them. They fly more of us than any other airline, right? And every one of us is different. And it's a description really of their staff and what makes their staff interesting. They all wear a uniform. They're supposedly far more corporate than others, yet under the surface, they are very much chosen and kind of groomed, I suppose, with their originality at heart.
Yep.
And then lastly, it's a description of what happens when you go see the world. You become more different. You become more unique the more world you see. And that's the role of a travel brand.
You become an original.
Yeah. But all of that, I've just unpacked for you. Similarly, a British original, does it give us a license to go and make some great work? Yep. And does it feel right and appropriate next to that badge? Yep. I mean, take from it what you want.
Crib notes for other CDs. Let's talk about Blue.
Oh, yeah. This is Eve Klein. I've kind of told this before, but you asked about our creative process, and someone once told me this too, which is if you're trying to get a company to understand something, a lot of the times leaders are in the business of lists, and they love lists, or we've written this book and these are the rules of, our company. And someone once told me the best way people learn about cultures, and religion is a great example of this, is through stories. The Bible wasn't a list, apart from the commandments, by the way, which are probably the least successful part of the Bible. The Bible was just a list of stories.
That's right.
Parables is what they, And so this is my parable for creativity. This is Eve Klein. Do you know this story?
I don't know it.
Oh, I'm going to do it very quick. Eve Klein made this color. It's called IKB. He was obsessed with it. It's like an RGB blue. It was like, it hits. And he would make it in the real world out of powders and paint.
Yep.
Cover buildings in it. If you go to Morocco, Marrakesh, there's buildings covered in it. He would do show after show. He was like a rock star in the 60s. Right. So outside his shows would be all the celebs of the day and they'd all queue up. He had a show in Paris called The Void. Now, up until this point, he'd been doing bigger and bigger things with the color. So painting bridges and paint whatever. And The Void was there. So all the celebs of the day go, I can't fucking wait. I'm going to go along to Eve's show. And they're outside and they're being served drinks. It's in Paris. It's cool. The Jay-Z's of the time, right? The fucking absolute best of the best. They're all out there drinking and their doors shut. Now, when are we going to get let in? 2 hours they're all waiting. Still being handed drinks and food. And
Very Frank Ocean.
Yeah, right. Eventually, after a couple of hours, they open the doors. They're a bit pissed. They walk in. It's a white room, pure white room. No IKB, no blue. They're all walking around. They're like, okay, I can't wait. Is the wall going to fall down? Is the window going to, is there going to piss water? Is there going to be like a crazy wrestler who's painted blue coming? Nothing. More drinks. They're looking around. Eventually, a combination of alcohol and boredom, they get really pissed off. They're like, for fuck's sake, what is going on? This arrogant artist bastard has us all here. What a load of shit. He's taking the piss. And they all go, fuck this, and they all leave. Right, end of the night, they all go back to their hotel rooms, back to their houses, whatever. And they're like, arsehole, getting ready for bed, go to the toilet, have a piss, pure blue jets out. Because all the drinks all night were laced with IKB.
No, that's genius you can't access.
So
you can't work towards that.
Right.
Yeah.
So in a world that didn't have phones, no way of taking a photo of it, your toilet becomes a living work of art coming out of your body. How's that story lived on? Because it's absolutely exquisite. That really.
And it's quite punk rock. You have to be quite stress tolerant to put people through that.
Yeah, you have to believe it's going to work. It's a form of innovation because you're messing with it. Is it art? Isn't it? All those reasons not to. It'll upset people. They'll hate you forever. Yeah. Will they? Will they, or will they love you forever?
Yeah.
Will you be unforgettable?
And does it make you smile when you hear it, regardless? And very important stuff.
So that's
That's great. And can't wait to see what Uncommon's answer to that is.
Well, we're trying. We're trying, and it's a form of magic trick, really.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, I love magic too for that reason. There's these great stories about how someone grew a playing card within a tree so that 25 years later they could cut the tree down and pull the cut. Any form of prestige or build, I adore.
Yeah.
So I think any idea, that has this kind of longevity, which is rare in our industry, everything is instant. I think is going to be more remarkable as a result, because the whole world is not like that currently.
And so trying to build things that are just very reactive is not what you're interested in.
No, both. I love the brash trash of that too. I love playing a part in moments as they happen. That go where the heat is thing. I think it's a joy to play a part in the flashpoints of our lives.
Yeah.
But to be special, I think you need to develop longer running, more deep relationships with people. Okay. So Britain Get Talking as an example is I'm really proud of. It's the most recognised mental health campaign in the UK. The work we did with ITV when we stopped national television. That was a really awkward moment. Ant and Dex stood there silently for over a minute.
Yeah.
In hindsight, in the case study and all the above, it's like, it's great. But on the day, I remember it was really awkward. People didn't know what to do.
And it doesn't look like an ad.
No, it definitely wasn't. It was like a weird thing. And I think that the 1 second suit was, what is that? Is that a business idea? And people to this day still are like, you didn't come up with that though, right? H&M come up with that. I'm like, no, that's the bit we do.
Right. And
so that sort of stuff.
I'm going to put a pin in something that I was going to ask you about, because we're talking about maybe... I've been desperate to get onto this one. I don't want to say maybe the last great rock and roll album of all time, but I might be saying that. This is AM by the Arctic Monkeys.
Yeah, it's flawless.
Yeah,
it's flawless. I mean, it's like, how many songs on it? 11 maybe? I can't remember.
It's very short. It's like, I think maybe 10. One of yours.
Every one of them's brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's a passenger track on that album.
Not a passenger track, neither lyrically nor compositionally nor in the production.
Yeah. That guy, and he does it on every album, but I'd argue lately he's on a journey. But that bloke, I think Alex, in that album hit a vibe and tone, and I've heard him talk about this, which is what I kind of mean by finding your flavor of your worldview. And he hit a vibe and tone and understood it completely. The circularity of the riffs, the leaps from major to minor, and you know how he's playing it. I just think he really understood what he was going for. I don't think you could write that album without knowing. I don't think that album was luck and I'm going to find my way into it. That's how you write a couple of songs. Yeah. He wrote an entire album in that vibe.
Yeah.
And I just think it's exquisite. The lyrics, again, back to like Aphrodisiac Disaster, the lyrics to Are You Mine?
Yes.
What the fuck?
I'm a puppet on a string, Tracy Island.
I know, what?
Brilliant.
I mean, you're just like, it's like rap.
Yes. Well, he said, didn't he? He said, I was trying to make, was it Black Sabbath mixed with, I want to say Jay-Z. I'm not confident about that, but he wanted to make hard, dark rock mixed with hip hop.
Man, I remember hearing that, and the drums on that are, I mean...
They're the kind of thing that make you think, that how did they make that sound?
Yeah.
Not that's just drums.
Yeah, I'm with you. But also just, again, his style.
Yeah.
He knows when to restrain and when not to. Like the fills on Are You Mine are off the charts. They're like Dave Grohl at the Queens of the Stone Age, or he's got the style of Abe Cunningham from the Deftones, I think. And I just think that whole album is exquisite. And I think it's an exercise in literally perfectly understanding a body of work. Like if you wanted to show somebody a crew of people who understood and had confidence in every part of the process, is that.
It's impressive as well that in a way I haven't seen people do for the last decade, Alex Turner, and this is to your point about people's patience and intelligence being more than what we give them credit for, was writing very, very long phrases. Yeah. They weren't just over an edit. Right. So as it when that watch, if that watch don't continue to swing, or the fat lady fancies having a sing. It's all one line and it's all one phrase. Yeah.
Yeah. I also argue though, again, if you stopped everyone on the street and said, "Oh, you mind sing it?" they'd all sing it. And the words they'd use would be jarbled garbage. Yeah. Does it matter that they understood the words?
Yeah.
Are they all feeling it and do they love it?
Yeah.
He stops singing that song in the middle, and the entirety of how many people at fucking Reading or whatever start singing it for him. What are they singing? I mean, I
you can hear the wall that kind of assembles on the kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's right. That ranger rider through.
Wanna be?
And but it doesn't matter. And I think that's the point. And that I just think all of it, man. He let people in, I think, to an energy around that fucking album that was sexy. It was dangerous. Remember the music video was that high contrast black and white thing in that
filmed on a camcorder, and there's no DP. They were like, you just
I mean, and he's painfully thin and hot. It's like the whole thing is wrong and brilliant and all of the other good stuff.
Yeah, and I don't want to spend my entire career being embittered about not becoming a successful rock star in my 20s, but the dude was 27, and that's like a what would you call it? A concluding album to a body of work.
Yeah, it is.
They've done 5 albums and 2 headline slots at Glastonbury and millions of records. 27 years.
I know. I also think the lyrics he wrote way before that, by the way. I mean, even back to the first stuff were wise.
Annoyingly intelligent kid.
Yeah, he's a poet. I mean, he is.
Yeah.
Like, whatever you want to call that approach.
Well, they breed some good ones up in Sheffield. Jake Thackeray.
Oh, yeah, okay.
For those who want to explore some good Yorkshire lyric writing. Can't say enough good things about it, but we could be here all day on that. What's next, Bentley? St. John, I didn't quite get, because then I saw this Book of St. John, and I was like, that's the actual St. John.
Yeah, no, that's ignore that guy. It's more about that guy.
All right.
Fergus and Trev. Upper St. John.
See this on this thing?
Yeah, I'll get it out for you.
The Book of St. John. So for those of us listening only, Nils is going into the actual shop. We're shoplifting. There you go. The Book of St. John, Fergus Henderson and Trevor Gulliver.
So St. John's a restaurant, very iconic London restaurant up the road. There is a recurring theme. Actually, now we mention it in all this, in that if you look at the book, I mean, yeah, kind of pretty. That the whole restaurant is a bakery, essentially. It's all white. It's stylish, but without even trying to be. It's not designed. It's just a bakery that's been painted completely white. Mm-hmm. And it has its own energy. It really does not give a fuck whether you eat there or not. It's never tried. The food is amazing. It's nose to tail. So there's everything in there, from pig's cheeks through to heart, through to whatever. But it's iconic, man. I mean, they do bone marrow in there and a Welsh rarebit. Off the charts. You can go and eat for 12 quid. You can have a glass of red and a rarebit.
Yeah.
And I would advise everybody that goes, you can go to the restaurant, it's wonderful, but don't go sit in the main bit, in the cafe bit, and just order yourself some bone marrows and Welsh rarebit and sit there. The reason I mention it is we love it, but we created a habit of every good thing that happened at Uncommon. It's about, 10 minutes from here, we would just walk up there. So when there were 6 of us and we won our first bit of business or we made our first bit of work, we'd walk up there and we'd just buy 12 bottles of Le Clos and everyone would just wreck the place and they still let us back.
Brilliant.
And we've done it since the start. And
you're like kind of nice Bullingdon club.
Yeah, sort of, not even that. I mean, honestly, it's very accessible and the crowd in there's mad. You'll have Tilda Swinton, a couple of architects, a judge, and then, Skepta. Yeah. It's very strange. And you never talk about it and no one's in there taking selfies.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. But it's uncompromising. The point I was trying to make was, whether it's alcohol or coffee or tea or cake or whatever it is, you have to, I think, remember to play. We've struggled to remember to play and to celebrate.
Oh, as in to play, as in to be playful.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I'm persuaded by the argument that spontaneous play is the opposite of evil.
Yeah, right.
Like, if you put it on a continuum.
Yeah.
And this is playful as well as quite serious.
Just take the steam out of everything. We run very hot.
Yeah.
We run really hot here, and we have a lot of serious conversations, and the level of candor is very high. And I mean candor, not ego or critique. It's like we're very straight with each other, and the level is very high and all the above. And I think it's really important to remember to take the steam out of everybody occasionally and just go, fuck, this doesn't matter, right? Let's all park it, have a glass of wine, well done, thank you.
Yeah, because to make the kind of great organization and culture that you're making here, we can't deceive people about the fact that there's going to be stress, there's going to be pressure and tension.
Yeah, we're not, I mean, that's something, it's always struck me as those places that build water slides and have bean bags and it sounds awful. I never really, success was to find the place that you would make genuinely the best work of your life, and you would be a part of a company that was a part of a moment. Mm-hmm. And I think that a side effect of that is you're a great place to work if you get it right and all the above. But I've always said, if you want yoga classes and tea, probably don't come here. We do. Why
does that seem gimmicky to you?
Yeah, well, no, it doesn't seem gimmicky. I just think I'm going to be really candid. I remember doing lots of that at Gray in a way to try and convince people who were doing jobs they didn't like on clients that weren't making good work to stay. And I'm not saying that those things aren't great techniques for relaxing people, and we have our versions of those. But I think the output and the role of the company needs to speak to something inside you attached to your ambition, progression, and something else, not what you'd like to do on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, you're kind of trying to trick people into working a bit.
A bit. I'm suspicious of it. And I think any company leader on LinkedIn who spends more time updating their LinkedIn about the amazing cake day they had or how they went and knitted jumpers and what I learned about leadership, I think is usually full of shit.
Yes, absolutely.
And, I just think I think you got to balance that. I think the most high performing companies in the world in any sphere are the ones that find a way to gear everything around the product and the output. You know, you can have a lot of fun doing that, but ultimately that has to be the thing. What's the output of a water slide at Google? Keeping people at Google who are desperately bored and unhappy staying there.
If they would leave without the water slide, that's the wrong answer.
Right. You know, and so there's lots wrapped up in that, but I'm not saying it's an unpleasant place to work. I'm just saying, I think you have to put we put certain stuff first, where for people who really do want to go and put a dent in things, where they realize their jobs and however many hours they spend in an office are a critical part of their life. And they want their output to matter. Very similar to Steve Jobs' philosophy. And I like what you're saying about these guys as well, St. John being like, we do this, and if you don't want it, don't come here. It's like, there's no worse energy than kind of a desperate chasing of what, do you want this? Which is most of our industry. Absolutely. What's next? The passing of time is the best advert for a funeral director. Did I send you that? I probably did.
It certainly came on the list unless Lex shoved it in.
So no,
you're going to have to riff on that.
No, I'm not. It's attached to the previous point. I should have probably realised this was coming. So you go past a hairdresser over the road. What's outside? What's on the outside of a hairdresser? Anyone? Little curly thing, red and white. Remember that? Remember those? Barber's thing? Yeah. Funeral directors, they have a clock.
That's clever.
That's fucked up. They have a clock. It's like a reminder you're going to die.
And someone would say, can't do that. It's a little bit upsetting. It's like, but it's real.
It's true.
Now,
so I'm like, I was aghast. The first time I noticed this, I was like stood there on the street on Lamb's Conduit Street going, oh my God, it's a reminder of the literal fact I'm going to die one day. I go to a German creative festival. They've got blank gravestone fly posters on the wall, and people are writing their job descriptions or their dreams into them. And someone wrote at the end content solutions into one of them. And I was like, fuck that. And somehow they found a way at this festival to coach me into believing that it was my life, and it, you know, the time I spent here was my life. And I was like, so all of that attached to my previous point, I don't want to spend, some people do, and that's absolutely fine. And some people's jobs are, and I'm not saying your job is, you know, the only thing that matters are all the above. But if you have a thing inside you where you want your job and the hours you spend at your job to be meaningful, to try and matter, that's not something to be ashamed of. But that takes a real sense of focus. And what we're trying to build here is a company where your output does matter. You know, where the things we make might create conversations, change behavior, change policy, question government, all of the above. And that's what we're trying to do. And the reason I mention that is because I think time is finite.
It certainly is.
You know, and that haunted me at Gray and haunts me now.
You know, I'm not going to riff on it too much, but definitely felt that it's like, oh, I'm 30 now. Shit, 2 more of these at best. That length of time at best. And it's brief.
Now, I'd love to take the pressure off people a bit, because my wife, who's an incredible partner to me in all this, we went to see, with our first kid, she was pregnant. We went to see this gynecologist. There's an old guy called Lindsay McMillan. He was 80, like about to retire. And she was having that freak out that all new parents have, where she was like, look, I'm worried about my job, my career. I've got to take time out. What am I going to do? She was a planner at the time. And he said, well, cool, I get that. But let me just tell you, I've had 7 careers. And he said, not 7 jobs, 7 careers. You know, he was a geologist or whatever, and he ended up being that. Now, I kind of have massive time for that. So I am in a spirit where it's never too late, but I'm also in a spirit where I'm like, I look back at a couple of years where I just knew I was floating and being a passenger. And there were A, my most unhappy years, but B, completely, I could have looked at those and just spent far more with them.
Like, they're unsalvageable. You can't.
Yeah, they're unsalvageable. You can't get them back. And also, I think you could lie to yourself and say, yeah, but I had fun. Well, did you though? Because having fun is not working and just going with your family and going around Europe. That's fun. Or go to fucking work and absolutely murder it.
But you were cruising this week.
That's the worst bit. The worst bit, I think, is...
I was not really working at work, and I was not really having fun out of work.
So. I was asleep at the wheel. That.
And as well, with what you've said about the culture you're trying to create here at Uncommon, it sounds like you want never to have the moment where you say, I know this is shit, I know they want some shit, but they're paying us. Just...
Yeah, we don't do that. We don't have passenger clients. We don't have a single... And by that, I mean, you know, the client that keeps the lights on.
Yes.
We used to have those at Gray. It was like, oh, you know, those are the B team. Do you remember the B team? Every agency has a B team. The fuck's a B team? Or people that service a client you wish you didn't have.
Oh, I love that.
No, but it's true.
Yeah.
And I was like, well,
Lucky strike.
Well, let's never do that. And so we fire clients if they're not going to make the work we need to make. That's a deal breaker. And that's not an arrogance, that's a defense mechanic. If I put my best people on a client making work that's not good, that we're not going to talk about, I'm not just getting paid to make work that I'm not going to talk about, I'm putting my best people on that. So I'm wasting their efforts and energy.
Yeah. And ultimately, you know that the actual client brand won't get the results they want.
Yep.
And, I see a lot at the moment of bemoaning of how has creativity gotten so bad in advertising? And they
don't sell it.
Well, yes. And also there seems to be, you're letting the client kind of make it.
Yeah.
Because every sign-off decision is like, all right, thanks for this. We'll see what the client says.
Yeah. But also, I think there's something, again, to those conversations where you go, we've got clients who challenge us and we've got clients who go toe-to-toe with us on issues, but they do it from the same place. So we're on the same side of the fence. We both want the same thing. They just think that one way is better than another. Now, I'm really happy to go toe-to-toe on that. What I'm not happy to do is go, here's our deal up front. We all want fame, we want impact, we want to be meaningful, and then reverse back from that for the next year. That's not the way forward. Someone wrote this thing about some of our work, and they were naive enough to write this thing where it was like, they've really got to get a handle on this client because I think if they don't, it's out of control, and it's very uncommon to let the client do this. And I rang him and said, you do know that was my call. You do know it wasn't the client, right? You know I wanted to do it like that. That wasn't, don't give me a get out.
Yeah.
If you fucking hate it, but it was us.
And say.
Yeah, it was us. It wasn't them, it was us. So fuck off.
Yeah.
Don't presume to know about my client relationship.
Right.
That pissed me off. It was
Did you see that? Well, that'll be happening a lot with this kind of rising star you're having. It's like, oh, I bet how they did it is that, yeah.
Well, I just think they presumed that we had a very conventional relationship where we were somehow burdened by our clients. Our clients aren't a burden. They're genuinely on a level, partners, want the same shit. I'm more scared of letting our clients down than I am of them not approving something.
Right.
That's how we feel.
Yeah.
DJ at EA is one of the best clients I've ever worked with. I mean, he rang me on our first meeting and went, was that it? Is that really? Is that you guys? And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, well, I didn't feel like you really brought stuff. I was expecting to be scared and this and this. And I was like, well, I was a bit worried you were going to be all about evolution and whatever. And he said, right, well, imagine I fucking wasn't. What would you do? And I said, okay, give me a week.
Right.
And we came back and we did the work we wanted to do. And then he went, thanks very much. Fucking brilliant. Let's go.
Interesting. So they were actually saying you weren't scary enough.
Weren't good enough. Yeah.
Right. And how do you take that criticism? Is that, oh, no, shit, we're going to lose this.
It's perfect.
Okay.
That's the sort of client you need.
Yeah.
That's the right relationship.
I want this. Not, I'm going to, the old cliche with people in bad relationships, if you love me, you'd know what I want.
Yeah, that.
You don't want those clients.
No. But he was articulate enough to tell me what he didn't like. And he was like, you just haven't gone far enough. And I came to you because I've listened to you and I've heard your stuff and I wanted to completely renegotiate the relationship with the world's biggest football club with culture.
Yeah.
And is that going to do that? I was like, right, fine, give me a week.
Good point. Yeah.
Came back, was like, there you fucking go. Came up with a logo that's been hiding in plain sight for 20 years, came up with a way of launching it using Dave, was like, right, fine, much better.
Okay.
There we go. But what a great relationship to have with my client where he's going, hang on, I'm just not sure this is quite where I wanted it to be. And that's a lesson for all of us here.
Yeah.
Actually we've got to remember who we are in that relationship.
Let's see what happens now. The prawn shack.
Oh yeah. So I don't know. Why have I fucking told you about that? So the prawn shacks, I think it might be healthy for everyone to have one of these. When that point you talked about where you're cruising or where you're not quite happy or where you're not progressing anymore, I think at some point you need to go and do something for you that's unequivocally yours. The dream of the prawn shack for me is this joke I have with my missus and my friends where I'm going to go, when this is done or I've had enough, I'm going to go and run a prawn shack and there's going to be no menu and you walk in and you get what I put on the table and I have 2 wines and you can choose one or the other.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. And it has about 7 colours and I run it for me.
Yeah.
I don't run it for anybody else.
Yeah.
And I open when I want to open, and you're lucky enough if it's open.
We knew a great guy called Anthony Barnes in Manchester who ran a place called Squid Inc. It was more or less that. He's like, no menu, I'll do whatever I damn well please. Yeah. I'll pour all the wine, and there were 16 covers.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, and the irony being, you presume everyone would go, I fucking hate that, what a bastard, arrogance, etc. They don't. They love it because it's a personal endeavor.
And also, they don't have to choose.
Yeah, choice is horrendous.
Yeah,
but also just I think there is an unsaid fantasy inside people that live that way, that you get to bathe in. You kind of go, fuck, that's cool. I want to be around that energy, don't you? I love the idea of going to that place.
Yeah.
So whether I ever do it or not, I think there's just something in there for everybody where they assume that type of behavior is inappropriate or arrogant or out of order or they don't deserve it. And I'm sort of saying, actually, that might be the only way through, is to make it completely personal and just exactly what you want.
Yeah.
And then absolutely everybody will love it, is my theory.
Yes. Well, look, it's like what George Martin said when he was talking about being approached by the Beatles, hearing them audition. So the music was all right, but I really liked them. And I thought, if I like them, other people might like them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think it is.
Do you think there's too much? This is a vague and general question, but in big network agency land, I get the impression, and I don't have your experience, that there's a lot of overthinking.
Yeah, masses, but they're paid for it.
Paid to overthink.
Yeah. I mean, most of the industry's in the business of decks. So, you know,
making long PowerPoint presentations that you can bill 2 hours while you read.
Yeah. And that's a result of a lot of clients being in the business of invisibility. I think that and this is true musically, I think there are some people who are just trying not to upset things and or people.
Yeah.
And that they think their job is to make just enough to exist and not enough for anyone to really notice it.
Yeah.
And that's an insane thing to say when you think about the role of advertising being to be seen.
It's supposed to be.
And I think that's kind of mad. And I think a lot of our industry, bless them, have woken up in the business of decks where we sell our time and we do all that other stuff. We have a thing called FAF tax here.
FAF tax.
Yeah, FAF tax. Natalie came up with it. So if you've worked with us for 6 months, one of my co-founders, she's got her business and production. Lucy's the other one. She's the strategist. Basically, if you've been with us for 6 months and you haven't made anything, we charge you 25% more.
Genius.
Which is, we've never had to do it. We've never had to do it, luckily, but it's one of those conversations you have in a new business meeting. You go, by the way, we've got FAF tax. And they go, what's FAF tax? And you're like, if you haven't made anything in 6 months, we are going to charge you 25%.
We're here to make things.
And they like, basically, and everyone says, as a hindsight, you go, how come you guys make so much stuff? I'm like, we were geared around making. It's an important part of our makeup to be out in market.
You designed the brand to be making, not to retain, build, and sit.
That's right. I know it sounds incredibly stupid to say it like that, but most places aren't designed for that.
Yeah.
That's the role of a studio.
So you actually, I mean, you're not, most people will be like, you're not the client. You can't set the carrot and sticks. Like, yeah, we can.
No, we are. We're a most important client, arguably.
Yeah.
I mean, if we don't exist for that reason and aren't happy with it, how can we possibly service anybody? And so I just look at it and go, if we're in the business of making, if we hadn't made what we've made, we wouldn't have the clients we have. That's the other thing, by the way, which is, this isn't some form of arrogance. If you're invisible, if you're out, and by the way, your output's the only way you are visible. If you're invisible, how will they know?
Yeah.
What are they going to come and say they want? I want that deck I've never seen. I want that strategy that you never made.
Yeah.
They're never going to say that,
What's next, Bentley? Legal protection against Donald Trump in the White House.
That's, go on.
This confused me because he's not been president for a couple of years.
No, that was our first bit of work. So we were arguing, we had to have a standing start. We couldn't drum up any clients before, as you know, legal, etc.
You can't use old work. You can't tell that you can't do this.
We weren't allowed to do anything. So the day one was literally day one. We put out the press release and campaign, and luckily the story was pretty compelling. We had a few phone calls and some people got in touch. One of whom was a West Coast social media company. And we were like, yay, it was a lot of money. It was like 250 grand. We were like, fucking thank God. But 2 weeks later, we were arguing. They changed the brief. It went from being entrepreneurial businesses to paid social, blah, 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 blah. It was awful. And we pulled out. And we were freaked because we were like, we just spent 2 weeks arguing about it. This is not the work we wanted to make. Luce and I going at each other. And we pulled out and we're like, no, we have to pull out. We have to remember why we did this. And the very next day, we got a phone call from OVO Energy, who went, we want to have a completely different conversation about energy in this country. We've seen your work. Are you really badass? Do you really care? What should we do? And we said, okay, portion of your energy that you provide is green. At that point, no one was providing green energy. Nobody. This is 6 years ago. And so we said, you should just index on that and just sell green energy. And so we made a main film, as I said, that talked about powering your life differently. It had Slayer on it. It had a rant from the film Network. Get mad. I want you to get mad. Yeah. It was basically an insight to get annoyed at the way the world is. Alongside it, we made a viral film with Alison Jackson where Donald Trump got a golf club out and smashed up solar panels because he just pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement. Do you remember that?
I remember that one.
Yeah, so we did that. But to do that, we had to get a legal indemnity against Donald Trump in the White House. So I have that framed, which is insane if you think about it.
You have indemnity against a sitting president.
Which is nuts. I mean, and I'm pretty sure...
Unprecedented.
Yeah, kind of crazy. Yeah. So that was mad and scary and all the above, but really indicative. And I think backing everything about that story is affirmation. You know, I think it's the evidence you need to tell yourself things are okay. That's why I'm telling you it. I'm not like, I don't want you to think I'm kind of going, I'm boasting. I'm like,
No.
We lied to ourselves. We said, we want to do this thing. We want to matter, and we want to be about pushing the environmental agenda and changing behavior and making a different, braver sort of work.
Yeah.
And then we've managed to find a way to back ourselves and do it. And I'm sort of saying that when you go out there and try, things do happen.
It's interesting that often it sounds like the fear doesn't cut the fear, you know, it's like, so you're talking about we're going to Donald Trump smashing up. We can't do that.
Yeah.
Too many potential legal problems, too many potential upset voters, 50% of the population don't. But it sounds like a lot of that fear in a big network environment doesn't come from the client. They're actually like, no, we want that get out.
Yeah. Well, you'd be surprised as well. I mean, there's lots of panics. You know, we're a new business. This is going to kill us before we've started. Well, it's either going to kill us or make us. And I'd argue at that time he had far worse going on than us. Some company in the UK that was 6 people in an office. Like, you know, in reality, you probably never heard about it.
Yeah. That's a really important point just to put a pin on. It's like reality check. What was it Eleanor Roosevelt said? Yeah. You'll be consoled about what people think about you when you realize that they don't think.
They don't think about you. That's the point. And you'd be surprised the amount I've had conversations about risk, that word risk. When you're looking at a client, you're like, mate, the risk is that I spend another 10 minutes talking about risk with you. That's the risk.
Yeah.
The risk is that we are wasting our lives talking about something that no one gives a shit about.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a massive, massive part of it. And it's half the job, I think, is bathing your surrounding people and your collaborators and your partners and your clients in the same energy you're in. Because I also think what agencies are guilty of is we'll all talk ourselves into this fury here. We're going to do it. We've got this fucking work. It's great. And then we'll go see people whose list is completely different to ours. And their energy for the day has been completely different. How many microchips go by? And you'll turn up and go, rah! And they'll go, oh my God. The exercise, and by the way, I think this is a massive part of our industry, is articulation. You know, the ability for me to tell you about something in a way that doesn't just make you want to do it, but makes you have to do it.
Yeah.
Thomas Heatherwick's excellent at that. He said this brilliant thing, which I think the agency world needs to learn from. The ad industry's got this thing, which is, you know, and then I took it to the client, they didn't have the guts to buy it. They said, no, the client wouldn't let me do it. It's a common thing. And that we're dependent. So Heatherwick said, well, if I give you £1 million to come up with something, if I give you £1 million, you give me £1 million to come up with something, and then I come back to you and I can't tell you about it in a way that makes you want to do it, how could that be your fault? You give me £1 million to come up with it.
Yeah.
How can it be your fault if you don't do it?
Yeah.
So I'm like, we have to take that on. I don't think that's clients. I think that's all of it.
It's the same old thought experiment, is it? Would you do it for £1 million? It's like, that's literally what the deal is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally. And so you go, okay, at that point, I think you have to renegotiate your terms with how you're telling people about your work. Now that's different, of course, if they've come to you for something else. And that's a separate chat we've had already. But, you know, if they're coming to you for blue and you're trying to sell them red, don't be surprised it's so hard to sell them red.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Like, uncommon, when they come, we go, hey, what do you want? We tend not to work with them if they don't want.
Your job isn't to change their mind.
No.
And be like, oh, you are wrong about what you should do.
That's right. That's exactly right. Your job's to open their mind and then show them a way through. That's exactly right.
Brilliant. Bentley, what's next? Talk to me about this. KLF.
Oh, fucking hell. Right. So the OGs, really. I mean, the absolute OGs, in the interest of not giving a flying fuck. I mean, how many lessons do you want for, hacking pop culture, totally changing the narrative? You know, he wanted to cut his arm off on stage at the Brit. Did you?
He actually wanted to go through with that. I was like, no one's ever done this. This is awesome. I'm literally willing to lose a limb to create this moment.
You know, and he fired an AK at the crowd and dumped a dead sheep at the party and burnt £1 million and then offered an art prize, then wrote a #1 because they fucking thought they wanted to. And then, by the way, wrote a book about how to do it.
Banksy's got nothing on this.
Right. 100%. Now, I think we've forgotten the lessons that music in particular has taught us about disruption.
Yes.
And we're like eulogizing Lady Gaga wearing a meat dress. Okay, that's old now. But I'm like, the Rage Against the Machine stopped the New York Stock Exchange. Stopped it.
Slide.
Stopped it. Like, what?
Yes.
You know, now, and we're all going, oh my God, is it going to upset someone if we run this advert about beans that someone might not like? I'm like, mate, just start what you're talking.
You forgot what artists were supposed to be. Yeah. And we were like working on not to dish with the flow. We were working on this film with Joe Corey, the agent provocateur.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, it was a film called, I think it ended up being called Wake Up Punk. I'm not sure. Anyway, and it was about the fact that Joe Corey, rightly so, was like, punk rock is now a museum piece. It's a logo on credit cards and it doesn't do anything. And you're talking about doing things, and it doesn't have to live in punk.
No, I mean, I don't buy it. I think I understand it, but I think it's slightly tragic chasing or eulogizing or hoping for a resurgence to punk. I think, drill is a modern form of punk, like it's dangerous again or whatever.
Yeah.
I think there's always a scene, but I guess I'm saying that music in general has forgotten its power. I think they are not even scared. I just don't even think they consider themselves to play in that world enough.
Have you watched Bowie's assessment when Dr. Paxman? He says rock and roll when I was a kid was a dead, dodgy occupation.
Yeah.
People would look at you askance if you said you were in rock and roll. Now it's a career opportunity.
Yeah.
And the real danger is now on the internet.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And I think that's right. And I think weirdly, much closer to what we do, you can be far more activist, but we're not. And we've always believed that our relationship with brands and their scale, particularly brands of scale, and we work with a lot of them now, you have far more power to change things quickly with them than you do now, writing a track actually. But I just think we've forgotten all that, and these lessons aren't around, and people aren't teaching people about this. And those guys to the power lyrics, by the way, I mean, killing in the name of, I mean, how, that quote, the Saul Williams quote, legislation won't necessarily start a riot, but the right song can make someone pick up a chair. Just love that.
It's very, very good. It's like it's parody of, no, there are many statues of great composers, but no statues of great critics.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I just think that's insane. Like, and that's your point about cleverness versus emotion is, there's something about moving people to do something as opposed to explaining.
Yes.
That's why I also think this government, by the way, or any change we might seek, when you try to do it rationally, and people do need the rational and it must exist somewhere, but of course it becomes data and it doesn't work, it doesn't affect you. I also think we've lost the ability to influence each other in that way. Yeah. For the important things.
Have you read any of Rory's books?
No, I'm not going to lie.
It's good that you can, when advertising, you can say Rory and people know who you mean. Read Alchemy. That's very much up the street that you're talking on. But that's, I think, the last point of inspiration. So now we're on to the unknown, the future.
Oh, okay.
Now everyone at the moment says, what do you think about AI? Do you have anything intelligent to say about AI, or is it like, I feel like we're just looking over the void, just like, I don't know what's going to happen?
No, I love it. So the conversation about AI, somewhat characteristically, if AI is going to take the boring, easy, repetitive, cheap, and fast parts of our industry and do it better than we could, then what are we left with? The
important stuff.
The good bit.
Yeah.
That's my take on AI.
So you're hoping it will be like, because people are afraid that it's a terrible fire which will burn off the dead wood, and it's like we might need to burn off the dead.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, you need a reset.
Oh, burn off the dead wood, whatever you want to call it. Stop us lying to ourselves. Stop the con that the industry's made for itself. Remind creatives of their unique and powerful ability to transform businesses or moments in a way that AI never will. It just never ever will. So if it's literally replacing speed, consistency, and integration, and saying we can plug in things that do that for you, so all that's left is this, I think that's a wonderful place to be. Right. It's a reminder, man. Yeah. The world gives you reminders. It does. Yes. And if something's come along to do that, you just got to fucking listen to it.
Well, one of the reminders at the moment, I think, is a reminder that we all tend towards end of history theory. Because everyone's now going, AI, that's it, no more jobs after this and no more anything. But people have said that about every single technological revolution that I've been alive for, never mind the ones before.
Faster horses, yeah.
Yeah, faster horses, great. Henry Ford, what a genius. It's like Office 365 going to have no more accountants because everyone's got Excel. It's was there anything before this where it's like, I mean, even when you have recorded music, no one's going to go to concerts. They'll have it in their home. It actually enhances the experience.
Do you remember the death of magazines?
No.
I mean, as a designer, when the internet boomed and people were starting online platforms, magazines are dead. Tyler Brûlé launches Monocle, black covered magazine, lifestyle mag. It's now got retail spaces in most airports. It's a luxury lifestyle brand. So I'm like, any sort of moment like this reminds you of the real value, I think, of any form of business. Yeah. But I'm really hopeful. I don't know. Maybe I am an optimist, but I just look at all of it and go, the world's just trying to remind us all about something. Yep. And by the way, AI has not come along at a time when the whole industry is feeling great about itself.
Very good point.
Right? We're not all sat going, it's absolutely perfect. Please don't fuck.
Yeah, it's like, don't take these great jobs from us.
Oh, we're loving it. Stop. Well, no one's fucking sat around saying that, man. So a little bit like, well, okay.
There's something else seems intelligent about your operation. I'm going to make two more clever points and probably wrap. No. Wow. Something else. You want to build brands. You want to build things that sell. You want to build things that actually make things. It seems like one of the advantages is it gets everyone here in a way empathetic with the client. They're actually just trying to sell their wares. Their inventory is expensive to keep hold of. Saatchi said that. They said you have to imagine it's your inventory you're trying to sell.
Well, don't imagine you started one. you're then faced with all the same problems as well. So we've started now 4 or 5 brands of our own. We have an accelerator that's now put 45 brands through it called Unrest. The reason I make this point though is starting a brand in particular is really hard because you do have to kind of make a deal with the devil. You can't, I don't think, start certain brands without playing the Facebook, Insta, TikTok, Snap game.
Okay.
It can't be the only game you play, but you do have to scale like that. That's how we're all still ingesting a vast amount of our lives. Learning to do that, but build a brand from the start. There's many, many brands that come to us and they're like 4 or 5 years in, and they're like, okay, we've reached the gigabyte pipeline limit. We're spending 70 grand a month on fucking Facebook advertising and it's just peaked. And we have no idea what our brand is. Help. And I think that plus understanding or falling in love with the impact a real brand can have with people. I was at B&Q's leadership conference recently. Go with me on this. And I'm sat there and there's a geezer on stage and he goes, and I just never thought about it like this, and I found this absolutely fascinating. It like made me almost salivate. He went, imagine I sold 1 million planks of wood like this, and he's got this bit of wood. And he goes, right, that's fucking great. I've got 1 million planks of wood and that makes however many million, And then he said, imagine with every 3 of these planks of wood, I sold a saw because I'm not going to cut it with my knee. And I was like, oh, he's like, oh no, I'd make an extra 3 million quid. I was like, no, it's classic sales. There's no rocket science in that. I know there's not. But the primal way that he just brought that to bear, man, and reminded me of that's what a business is. A business is trying to hustle its way through saying, do you want that? Or do you want that as well? And if you get that and that, you might get one of them. Yep. Like, or just why are you buying it? I'm just compelled by it.
Yes.
I'm compelled by it. And I look at people like B&Q as well, and I do think they have a really positive additive role in our lives, particularly out of COVID. I was obsessed with that brand coming out of COVID.
Yeah.
We all went back to our homes, man. Our homes and what it might mean to be in our homes. It's a huge conversation.
I'm not trying to be sycophantic, but you guys made the first print ad that actually almost made me a tiny bit emotional. I was like, wow.
What was that?
Drill. Art.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah, okay, cool.
I was like,
great, thanks.
That actually made me feel something.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That's some of our favourite work, that work. I think B&Q have been our, secretly our most creative client. Out of home, weirdly, by the way, we've been a secret out of home studio. Like we do quite a lot of it, and I'm proud of a lot of it. A lot of our people can really write, and
yes,
the Guardian work, and even recently BA. It's funny as a medium. I think it's become iconic again. Like if you want to behave singularly, almost like an album cover or a badge or an icon, you can't do that in social anymore. It's littered with crap. Actually, television is a very difficult format to do that in. Who's watching it? You still got to walk down the road and look at a 40-foot poster though. There's an opportunity. I think it's delicious. It's like it's very rare.
There's a sense. I was at the BAFTAs last week. It's not just dropping that in. And James Cross, the founder of Meanwhile, he said,
I like James. I hope it goes well for him. He's a good guy, I think, and they're
good dudes, yeah. And they're having a go. Let's see what happens. James said, I think there's a bit of romanticization about the old industry, as if it was all Mad Men. It was really cool and everything was iconic. And I'm just free associating, saying I get it's not really about the quality of the old way of advertising, but there is a lot of nostalgia for it. A lot of LinkedIn stories about why am I drawing a blank? Hello, Frank Lowe selling to a client, things like this. But it was a type of business, a very British type of business. The aesthetics, thick glasses, sideburns, suits at work. And it's like, right, we're not that anymore. And what we are is kind of unconfident, but what does the future look like? What's a future agency? What kind of vibe, what kind of style will it have? And I'm hoping that what Uncommon is doing is setting a kind of template. It's a studio trying to make stuff.
Thank you.
Making is the point. Talking and justifying isn't the point.
No, that's right.
So, Nils Leonard, thanks for your time. Thanks for unlocking some of what's going on in your mind.
Great conversation. Thank you for taking the time.
Hope we can do it again, man.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you, Bentley.